What I would like to do is start class talking a little bit about part two, just answering any questions you guys had, that kind of stuff. Then since we finish a part, we are going to take a quiz, which is open book, but not open internet. So you're welcome to use your book during it. And that's why I want to answer any questions you guys have too. And then we're gonna talk more in detail about part two, because there's some good chunky monologues and things that happen that I definitely want to discuss. Sound like a plan? Okie dokie. All right. The first thing I want to talk about and just kind of finish talking about is Faber's big rant about what's missing in society and what books have, and that's why Montag is wanting to read books. So we already talked about the fact that he wanted quality, right? Wanted the depth, the pores that books have and needed. What is the second thing? Adam? Leisure. Okay, what about leisure? Is he saying? Because they have a bunch of time, right, Emma? Good. Yes. It's space to think, right? So instead of having everything hitting them over and over and over, right? Bombarded by the media, listening to podcasts, listening to music, listening to commercials like Denham's Dentifrice, all those things. He's saying books give space for leisure, open white space to think, because you can close a book, right? If you don't want to think about it right now, or if you find a line and you're like, ooh, that's good, you can close it, stop, and take a moment to think. I think white space is, I have a whole soapbox that I can go on about white space. We are constantly moving. I don't know if you guys ever feel just kind of overwhelmed just by your schedule, like what you have to do in a day. I know I do. I constantly have to physically schedule myself for nothing, like, because I have so much to do that I block out time just to like read a book I want to read, or literally just lay on the ground, like not do anything. So I encourage you guys to do that too, because even watching a TV show feels like nothing, but you're still taking stuff in. So even just having a moment like we did on our nature walk, just going outside and sitting, it's kind of cold, but sitting by the fire with a cup of tea, or sitting at the kitchen table and seeing if one of your family members ends up sitting down and talking with you, just something blank and open that you have. All right, what's the third thing? Easily. Good. Yeah. Does anyone want to explain that further? Yeah, definitely. So it's the ability to use and the freedom to use what you learned in 1 and 2 in your life. So ability to act on 1 and 2. That's funny. I wonder what class it is. They right now don't have a lot of freedom, right? They don't have a lot of ability to do whatever they want to do, kind of have that thought, have that freedom to make the world better. They just kind of are receiving what's happening constantly. So that ability, you kind of consider that a human right, but they don't have that as a right, because if they step out of line, they're instantly rebelling and going to be killed by the government. That's kind of crazy, right? And totally like pointed out as someone different. What do you guys think of those three things? Talk with a partner really fast. Do you agree with these three things? Do you disagree? What do you think? What do you think? All right. I want two people to tell me their thoughts on Faber's idea of books. I need two lovely volunteers. Otherwise, I shall go. Anyone having a big opinion? No one. Ainsley?
I agree with what you do, but I'm not really sure about three, because I think it's less about like the ability to act and more about like the conscious thought and like pursuits of doing it. I feel like it's less of an ability and more of like you have to become good at finding the way in the situation to use it.
Okay. So what I'm getting is it's less of like a one-off action. It's kind of a process. Is that what you're saying? I can see that. It's a very abstract concept, isn't it? It's hard to pin down like what they're thinking. I totally could see that though, for sure. I love it. I think 1 and 2 are super important too. And like that third is just kind of the space to do 1 and 2, you know, between it. Yeah, for sure. I could see that. One more person. What are your thoughts? Eric, what do you think?
Well, I agree with Faber. I agree that books are definitely for equality and future, but I think movies also.
Yeah.
So like our society isn't as sort of deprived of the ability to have feature and quality and entertainment, but it can easily have that.
Love that. Totally. And I think Faber said that too. Like the parlor could have these things, right? And I love that you said about movies, and there's different types of movies or even TV shows, right? You could watch the History Channel, you could watch National Geographic, or you could watch Nickelodeon, right? Like there's different quality within them. And the nice thing about our society is there is the ability to find that quality and that leisure to like pause the show or something in other things. I love that. Definitely. Cool. Okay. Do you guys, before I set you off to take your quiz, do you guys have any other questions about what happened in the chapter? What I want to hit later today and maybe bleed in a little bit to tomorrow is Dover Beach and what happened with Montag and Mildred's friends that were over, and the very end of the chapter, what went down with that. So those are like the two things. Yeah, Ainsley.
I'm just very confused what happens on the train. Like,
Yeah.
he like went like berserk for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And like basically told everyone he had what showed everybody.
Yeah. I think that was the dumbest thing ever, that he like just had the Bible open on the train, like reading it, like no one would notice. Okay, so the whole concept of the sieve in the sand, right? So him trying to push information in his brain, it not sticking, it going through. The he got so frustrated on the train. Montag is a perfect example of an anti-hero, or where he's like the main character of the book. We love that he's the hero, but also he doesn't have qualities that we necessarily want to emulate. One of those is his anger management, right? He gets super angry really easily. And I know, but he's dealing with a lot, right? So the whole idea was like Denham's dentifrice was screaming at him. Like he was trying to make that leisure time to think and memorize this book, but they don't have that ability because things are constantly blaring in them. It's like, have you ever tried to read a book or watch a TV show even while people were talking really loud in the kitchen? Okay, so it's like he keeps getting distracted. So that's why he gets so upset. That's a good question. And then it's like, then he goes to Faber's. What does Faber give him? A little earpiece. Okay, I think you predicted it. Isn't it pretty cool? It's like Bluetooth stuff. Yeah. So instead of having the normal seashells, now he has one that's Faber in his ear, right? So he's trying to like gain that knowledge with it. So Faber kind of is a character who's physically present sometimes, but usually present through space, like just through his voice, which is kind of cool. Awesome. Any other questions about anything that happened? Money out of the bank.
They're using it to like buy a printing press.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to make more copies of the books. So they're going to use it for a printing press and then to like distribute all of that. So he's like just putting all his money into that. Yeah. No other questions? Okay, team. Go ahead and open up. Let me see if it's even. Yep, it's not open yet. Okay, I don't think it was this class. I think it was my other class, but I just want to clarify. Beatty is not a woman, right? There was so many quizzes I had that kept saying she when it was referencing Beatty. Beatty is a man. He is the captain of the firemen. Okay? Yep. Yeah. That was a fun. I feel like they probably didn't read and then read his name as Betty. That was my guess as to what happened, but just thought I would clarify that too. Okay, it is open. Please write in complete sentences. Use your book if you would like. Some of them are opinion based, which is totally fair. All you. Do you want to take this later or? Right. Yeah, that's totally fair. So why don't you just not take the quiz right now and just like listening to audiobooks. Is that?
If it's like
while it's quiet.
We can figure it out. It'll be fine. We'll figure it out. But you can just, if you want to, like, do it, and then we can maybe do like a call. On the, okay.
Two like the same questions. Like, why do you think you chose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's essentially the same. My charger.
Well, I have a charger.
Do you have a charger? Would you mind?
Thank you.
Thanks. Let me I can open
I
it
was
back
gonna
up
say,
for you.
I've seen it
Yeah.
a little bit then.
Yep. For sure. Thanks, Daniel.
Is this the three things that are missing in the box? Or like in
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty, will you guys please go ahead and on your surface, there is something in topics and a link to the poem Dover Beach. Go ahead and open that up. Okie dokie. So, how do we feel about the quiz? Okay? Good. Love it. One of the things I want to touch on is when Montag kind of goes off on Mildred and her friends. I don't know about you, but I was very frustrated with him. I thought that was silly. He doesn't really think things through, right? But at the same time, his gut reaction is right. So it was just an interesting interaction. But one of the figurative language devices that's used a lot in this book is allusion. So we have lots of metaphors, right? We also have lots of allusions. One of the allusions that's being made here is Dover Beach, because Montag reads part of this poem out loud to Mildred and her friends. And I think that it has a lot of pivotal and interesting things that is the poem that's chosen. Bradbury could have not even said what Montag read, or he could have picked a whole different poem, but this one is very deliberately chosen. So I want us to look at it and kind of analyze why this poem was chosen and how it kind of reflects what is happening in Fahrenheit 451. So this poem is written, I believe, in 1951. Where did I? Oh, here's way farther back. Don't listen to me. 1867. There we go. The book is written in 1953. I think that's where I got it mixed up. This is Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold, 1867, published by English writer. Takes us to Dover, which is by the English Channel. It's a port and waterway that separates England and France. This is written in the time of the Industrial Revolution. So lots is happening with the difference between nature and industry. Things are kind of coming with the effect of technology. There's a couple cool pictures in here. So this is Dover. This poem of the cliffs, the white cliffs of Dover, if that's ever alluded to, that is this right here. So there's lots of ferries and places, coastal city. There's also going to be a reference to something called a shingle beach, which is, have you guys ever been to a beach with pebbles instead of sand? So fun, right? I love going to those. That's what it's referencing, is a pebble beach instead of sand. And this is Matthew Arnold. Look at those mutton chops. What is that? That is one bit of facial hair right there. Too funny. Okay, so we're gonna read Dover Beach together. And I'd love for you to have it out on your surface. If you want to stick it on OneNote too, I think that would be super great. And kind of pick some stuff out. I'm going to read it once all the way through, and then we'll go through stanza by stanza and try and find some connections. All right. Dover Beach. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen, you hear the great roar of pebbles, which the waves draw back and fling at their return upon the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin. With tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard on the Aegean Sea, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and around earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long, withdrawing roar, retreating to the beach, to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be truer to one another. For the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. All right, there's a lot kind of packed into this poem. Lots of round language in it as well. Let's stick to the first stanza right now, okay? The first stanza kind of sets the poem up, right? Sets the scene. There's something in poetry that, have you guys ever heard of abstract versus concrete language? Yeah, so abstract is what? Yeah, it's not pinned down, right? It's not like physically what you can't hold love in your hand, right? Love is an abstract concept. It's an emotion. It's something that you can't like physically have with your senses. Whereas something concrete is just like concrete, right? It is something you can walk on. It is something you see, feel, touch. You could taste concrete if you really wanted. Like it is something that is there. So good poetry sets up a concrete in order to introduce an abstract. Because then you feel like you can stand somewhere and then put your head in the clouds. Because if, just like Faber was saying, right? If you don't have anything rooted on the ground, you're not going to be able to really see anything. Like you're going to be easily lost if you're just stuck in the clouds. So the very first stanza, what are some adjectives you guys notice that kind of set the mood of the place? What kind of sets the scene here? Take a couple, like 1 minute, highlight a couple words, and then we're going to throw them out and I'll highlight them on here. All right, someone give me a word. Throw out a word that you guys highlighted. Tremulous. Love that. Oops. What is tremulous?
I thought it was like slow or like usually.
It's kind of, it reminds you of a a trill, right? Or a tremolo, like something kind of between. So this kind of musical. What other words did you guys throw out? Ainsley.
I did tranquil.
Tranquil, nice. Where is that one? See his calm. Glimmering Vast, Tranquil Bay. Good. Totally agree. Tranquil. What's another one we could grab then?
Calm.
Calm. Good. Everything's kind of easy, right? It's maybe like a little eerie, but it's very subdued. Sweet, right? Things are good right now. Everything's doing okay. Okay. There's also this kind of quiet, just things that are happening with pebbles on the beach are kind of going in and out. We just hear this kind of lulling lullaby of things happening. All right, second stanza. Here we go into an illusion within an illusion, right? We have an allusion in Fahrenheit to Dover Beach, and now Dover Beach has an allusion to a play called Antigone. Have any of you guys read Antigone? Stop it. Of course you have, Madison and Ainsley. What is this referring to? Do you guys know?
Is it the Song of Sophocles?
Yeah. What would you want to explain super fast what the play Antigone like kind of is?
Yeah, well, I mean, from what I can remember, Antigone is kind of like a forbidden, like, love
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, where, like, this guy wants to be his girl, but, like, they can't be together, I think.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of it, to be honest, but I remember they both end up dying, I think.
Yeah, it's like all about sadness. Like,
It's a lot of, like, despair.
yeah.
The entire time.
Yep.
Different locations.
Sophocles wrote Oedipus Rex. Do you guys know that one too? It's like where so he's all about like human suffering and misery and like sadness. So that's kind of where it's getting at, like this ebb and flow. It's comparing back to the pebbles on the beach right now. The pebbles that are going back and forth, like in the ebb and flow of the waves, is actually like human misery. Such a lighthearted thing, isn't it? So joyous and happy. It's also taking on this idea that Sophocles was like the gods, this is Greek mythology, can like decide to ruin people from one generation to the next. So like a tide that's driven by wind, it's kind of like the gods are just kind of things out of human control is like causing all this suffering and things are happening. So that's where it's also pulling from there. Okay. This concept definitely shifts right from the beginning. Here we have, there's an eternal note of sadness. Things are kind of like dreary and sad, right? Where do we see this in Fahrenheit? Talk to a partner. Where do we see this in Fahrenheit? All right, where do we see this in Fahrenheit? Nick. Good. The people, right? They think that they're happy, but they're not really. They're kind of like hidden misery. Like so many, did you catch that what's her face? One of Mildred's friends. She's on her 4th husband. One of them, I think, died naturally. One of them died in war. Another one committed suicide.
No,
And then what?
Divorce, I think, right? Like they got divorced.
Yeah.
Oh, one of them got divorced. Yep. And then the one that she's with now is like off at war. 48-hour war. Like super fast, quick. Everyone else's husbands die, but ours. Like, and if he dies, he told me to just remarry and not even think about him. Isn't that awful? Oh my gosh. I could not imagine this. Like, they've normalized misery, right? Being unhappy has become their happiness. And it's like, they're just all miserable, but they're told that they're happy. So they don't even think about it. Yeah, Addison.
I got it me wrong.
Okay.
Nothing in it, but like what it is that there's this girl in Antigone who has this brother who dies, and the evil king won't let her like bury him, and then she also has a sister, and she doesn't want to get involved. But there's this, the evil king's son is like betraying her, and she like does a crime where she's like forbidden into like this cave. They'll suffocate her to death, and like all this stuff happens.
I haven't read it. So is it connected to the Iliad at all? I was trying to think of. That's why I think I had heard it. It's like after or before? Before. That's what. Okay. Yeah. Fascinating. It's all about like crazy things that you can't do and sadness though. Like I know. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. I love it. Okay, so everyone's sad and miserable. Then in this 3rd stanza, we hit this idea of the sea of faith. Pulling into a little bit more abstract, right? The sea of faith. What is he hitting at here? The sea of faith was once too at the full and round earth's shore, lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. What's a girdle? Yep. A fancy belt. Okay. Fancy belt. So it once was once bright, right? Full, round, bright. But now I only hear its melancholy long drawing roar. It almost sounds like the moon here, don't you think? Yeah. It's kind of like the moon, and then all of a sudden it's like distant, retreating to the breath of night wind, naked shingles of the world. This is referring to the pebbles that are on the water again. So that's kind of happening. The sea of faith. What do you guys think of when you hear that phrase? The sea of faith. Talk to a partner.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, what do you guys think of with the sea of faith, Osa?
Well, honestly, I feel like, okay, I know there's like a parable about this, with like a scorpion and a frog or something.
I have no
But
idea.
It was like, in order to get across the lake, the
Okay.
frog, like one had to run on top of another because it was too deep. And,
Okay.
like, the one had to rely on the other one to get across, because if this one fell, he wouldn't survive. You know what I mean? That type of
Like the scorpion had to ride the frog across the lake.
It was something like that.
I have no idea.
It was two very weird animals.
Okay.
But anyway, like one had to ride the other one, otherwise they would like both drown.
Okay.
So when I hear faith, and that's what I think of, because you have to faith in each other.
Ooh, I like that.
It was, I can't remember the name of it. It was like, there were two really weird ones. I think it was a scorpion.
I could see that because then the frog had to trust that the scorpion wouldn't sting him.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense. Xander.
I was gonna say that like faith can be like calm like the ocean or like really like rocky and like hard.
Oh, it is a
Nice.
scorpion, yeah.
Totally. There's kind of, it can have a paradoxical type concept, right? It can be really destructive, just like fire, or really beautiful and life-giving. Any other thoughts? I love it. The Sea of Faith too, I mean, what I think of when I think of faith is religion, right? Is God. This concept of a higher entity. So having like God, the Sea of Faith was once to people trusting in each other, people kind of having a bigger purpose. It once, like people once thought like great things. They once had this trust, this faith in humanity even. But now, what do you think made that change? Remember, it's written in the Industrial Revolution. Technology, right? He's now seeing that like people aren't spending as much time in nature, aren't spending as much time with each other too. So he's criticizing all of this. Okay. It's kind of, I don't know. Do you guys feel like this poem's optimistic or pessimistic? It's a little pessimistic, I think, within it all, right? It's kind of like things are going downhill. There's misery and sadness and everything's going wrong. But there is a like little glimmer of hope that's given in this last stanza. What is this like hope that's given here? Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys catch it? Who's he talking to? It's someone a little bit closer to him. Ah, love, let's be true. Ah, love. Honey, dearest, Nick.
I was gonna say maybe his partner.
Good, his partner, right? Someone he loves, someone he's close to. It's like a man speaking to his wife, like, oh, love, let's be true to one another. Let's go against the world, right? Us against the world. A little bit of like Romeo and Juliet here, right? So he's speaking to his love and saying that that's going to give us hope, right? Like, the world is kind of like a land of dreams. People are just going around like in a daze. But also like it's a dream for us. Like we can explore and have beautiful new things. Everyone else doesn't have these things, right? Doesn't have joy or love or light or certitude, which is like certainty or peace or help for pain. But we can have that with each other. Strong and fight where ignorant armies clash at night. There's like all this ignorance that's kind of hitting at each other. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. My question though, if these two stanzas were the ones that Montag read, right? The last two. If Matthew Arnold is saying that like the one hope is this love that can happen, what does that bode like for Montag? Think about him and Mildred. Like, what is he trying to get across with this poem then by reading it? Talk with a partner. What is he trying to get across by reading this poem?
At
Here's the parable.
Scorpion and the Frog.
Yeah. It's like
Cool.
it's
I'll have to read it.
unrelated because like it actually just teaches about like bad people who just keep hurting other people no matter what. It's really sad, but I just thought
I like
about
you
it
thought
because
about
of
it.
River.
That's perfect. I
Yeah.
love it. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to read that. All right, what does that mean for Montag? What is Montag trying to say by reading this poem? Adam, what did you guys say?
Well, there's sort of like the things be different and like have like not like care about like stuff.
Yeah. Wake up, right? Start caring. If the only way that we're going to make it is through like each other and by loving each other, we got to wake up. Like you need to get your head out of the sand and start trying to put that sand in your brain, right? Sand in the sieve. Things are going downhill. We got to fix it. We got to fix it. What happens after Montag starts reading this poem?
What's her face to start? Yeah, what's her face crying?
Yeah, she starts crying. Why do you think she starts crying?
She has no one because they keep dying or they leave.
Yeah. Does she like have an epiphany and be like, I'm going to be different? No, she instantly is saying like how awful Montag is for me, like even reading this. Obviously poems are the worst thing in the whole entire world, right? But she's hit with emotion. She's hit with something. It's showing that underneath there really is all this misery that they're going through, and they need to like recognize it and want that change for themselves too. Interesting poem, right? Interesting thoughts. Okay. The other thing that kind of happens in this chapter is at the end, Montag goes to Beatty, right? And they get a call. Where's the call to? His house. Who's his? Montag's house. So the very end of the chapter leaves us off with the firemen getting a call to Montag's house. Dun, 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 dun. All right, will you guys open up your books? Things are happening. Ugh. Oh, did you notice also at the end, Beatty was trying to confuse Montag, right? Bring him back into his thought process. Kind of, they were just, we learned one, Beatty is super crazy well-read, right? He pulls out all of these quotes, all of these different like references, allusions to all these different things. He is super well-read, and he still uses that and twists it to be controlling. He's terrifying, honestly. Like having him, he's super manipulative and can twist even good into something bad. So it's really like destructive in the way he thinks. And Montag has Faber in his ear, right? Being like, don't listen to him. Kind of like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. That's like exactly what I was thinking of with that. So always kind of funny. All right, we have about 9 minutes left in class. We're on the last part of this, which is super exciting. So are you ready to see the last, what happens in the last part? This book goes really fast, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, we're like almost done, which is crazy.
We're like half, because like
You're more
in
than
pages.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
more than halfway.
yeah. And the best is yet to come. It's like background and things. I know it is. I thought that too. It's kind of funny. It's the 40th or the 60th anniversary edition, so it has like all sorts of stuff. All right, 3, Burning Bright. Ooh, something a little different, right? We have instead of fire having this like oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? The chapter progression of the titles kind of changes, right? We start with the Hearth and the Salamander, which is fire, to the Sand and the Sieve, which is more like trying to acquire that knowledge. And now fire is like taking over and burning super bright. All right. Lights flicked on and the house doors opened all down the street to watch the carnival set up. Montag and Beatty stared, one with dry satisfaction, the other with disbelief. Out the house before them, this main ring in which torches would be juggled and fire eaten. Well, said Beatty, now you did it. Old Montag wanted to fly near the sun, and now that he's burnt his wings, he wonders why. What allusion is that to? Icarus. Yeah. Icarus is one of my favorite just because I think the name Icarus is so fun to say. It is like cool, but it's the dad and a son built wings, but the son flew too close to the sun and the wax on the wings melted and he fell to his death. And this like father had to watch it happen. So yes, the labyrinth with, yep. Yeah. Okay. Now you did it, Montag. Didn't I hint enough when I sent the hound around your place? Oh, so do you remember the dog that was sniffing? It actually was the hound. They should have kicked the dog. Should have kicked it. It's true. Montag's face was entirely numb and featureless. He felt his head turned like a stone carving to the dark place next door, set in his bright border of flowers. Beatty snorted. Oh no, you weren't fooled by that little idiot's routine now, were you? Flowers, butterflies, leaves, sunsets. Oh hell, it's all in her file. I'll be darned. I've hit the bullseye. Look at the sick look on your face. A few grass blades in the quarter of the moon. What trash? What good did she ever do with all that? Who's he referencing? Clarice. Montag sat on the cold fender of the dragon, moving his head half an inch to the left, half an inch to the right, left, right, left, right. She saw everything. She didn't do anything to anyone. She just let them alone. The dragon is what? The fire truck. So it's gone from a salamander, which is not as ominous, to a dragon. Okay, now it's super ominous, right? Okay, alone, she chewed you out, didn't she? One of those do-gooders, and they're shocked holier than thou silences. Their one talent making others feel good. They rise like the midnight sun to sweat you in your bed. Sweet sweat. That's sweat, right? Okay, good. There was one time my dad wrote this really nice card to my mom on her anniversary. And instead of saying, you're so sweet, he said, you're so sweat. And it was the greatest thing ever. But I always get it mixed up now, which I don't know why. Okay. The front door opened. Mildred came down the steps running. One suitcase held like a dreamlike clenching rigidity in her fist as a beetle taxi hissed to the curb. Mildred! She ran past with her body stiff, her face floored with powder, her mouth gone without lipstick. Mildred, you didn't put in the alarm. She shoved the valise in the waiting beetle, climbed in, and sat mumbling. Poor family, poor family. Oh, everything's gone, everything gone now. Who sounded the alarm? Mildred. Honestly, right? One job, lady. One job. That's it. That's it. So she sounded the alarm, turned in her own husband, burned her family, which is, what is she worried about? The TV. She's like, my poor family. Ridiculous. Beatty grabbed Montag's shoulder as the beetle blasted away and hit 70 miles an hour, far down the street, gone. There was a crash like the falling parts of a dream fashioned out of warped glass mirrors and crystal prisms. Here comes the mirror back again, right? So Clarice was a mirror reflecting back to Montag. Montag would like look in the mirror. Now mirror that's happening. It's like the reality is, he's like in a dream. Reality's kind of warps like one of those clown mirrors to him. Montag drifted about as if still another impressionable storm had turned him to see the stone man and black wielding axes shattering window panes to provide cross ventilation. The brush of a death's head moth against a cold black screen. Montag, this is Faber. Do you hear me? What's happening? This is happening to me, said Montag. What a dreadful surprise, said Beatty, for everyone nowadays knows, absolutely is certain, that nothing will ever happen to me. Others die, I go on. There are no consequences and no responsibilities, except that there are. But let's not talk about them, eh? By the time the consequences catch up with you, it's too late, isn't it, Montag? Montag, can you get away? Run? Asked Faber. Montag walked but did not feel his feet touch the cement, and then the night grasses. Beatty flickered his igniter nearby, and the small orange flame drew his fascinated gaze. What is there about fire that's so lovely? No matter what age we are, what draws us to it? Beatty blew out the flame and lit it again. It's perpetual motion, the thing man wanted to invent but never did, or almost perpetual motion. If you let it go on, it'd burn our lifetimes out. What is fire? It's a mystery. Scientists give us a gobbledygook about friction and molecules, but they don't really know. Its real beauty is that it destroys responsibility and consequences. Ooh, what is fire now? It's less, yeah, it's kind of like it destroys things. It's just destructive. A problem gets too bothersome, then into the furnace with it. Now, Montag, you're a burden. And fire will lift you off my shoulders. Clean, quick, sure. Nothing to rot later. Antibiotic, aesthetic, practical. Whoa. Montag stood looking in now at his queer house, made strange by the hour of the night, by murmuring neighbor voices, by littered glass, and there on the floor, their covers torn off and spilled out like swan feathers. The incredible books that had looked so silly and really not worth bothering with, for these are nothing but black type and yellow paper and raveled binding. Okay, for homework for tonight. Can you go to page 120? Wait, let's see. 119. It's only 10 pages, not a lot. And ends at the top of it that says continuing their search. That's all. Yeah.